Hello, beta. Good morning. Your chapter continue. The enemy. Your next paragraph. There are other surgeons, Excellency. Thou suggested. None I trust. The journal replied. The best one have been trained by Germans and would consider the operation successful even if I died. I do not care for their point of view. He sighed. He It seems a pity that we cannot better combine the German ruthlessness. Ruthlessness means harshness, strictness, with the American sentimentality. Sentimentality means being emotional. Then you could turn your prisoner over to execution. Execution means legal punishment, and yet I could be sure you would not murder me while I was unconscious. The journal laughed. He had an unusual sense of humor. As a Japanese, could you not combine these two foreign elements? He asked. Thou suggested to the journal that there were many other surgeons in Japan. The journal replied that he did not trust anyone else other than Sudham. He added that the best surgeon had been trained by Germans and for them the operation would be successful if the journal died. He did not care for their point of view. The journal added that the Japanese could not combine the harsh nature of Germans with the emotional nature of Americans. So, the journal wanted to say that they did not have such persons who could combine the harsh nature of German and the emotional nature of American. He said that if they would have been able to do that, thence thou could be harsh and could turn the prisoner to the Japanese and at the same time be emotional and not murder the journal during the operation. With this, the journal laughed. The writer says that the journal had a strange sense of humor. He was very witty, he was very intelligent, very clever. Then he asked thou that, being Japanese, could he not combine these two foreign elements? So the foreign elements to which the journal is referring is the harsh nature of German and the emotional nature of an American. So thou smiled. I am not quite sure, he said, but for your sake I would be willing to try excellency. Thou smiled at the journal's question and said that he was not quite sure about it, but for his betterment he was willing to try it out. The general shook his head. I had rather not be the test case, he said. The general shook his head as he did not want to be such a person on whom a new trial would be made. He felt suddenly weak and overwhelmed. Overwhelmed means full of emotion with the cares of his life as an official in times such as these, when repeated victory brought great responsibilities all over the South Pacific. Suddenly, the general felt weak and emotional as he was reminded of the problems he had faced throughout his life while fulfilling his duties and responsibilities in various wars won by Japan. It is very unfortunate that this man should have washed up on your doorstep he said irritatingly. I feel it so myself, thou said gently. The journal was irritated and said that the happening of the injured man reaching his house was an unfortunate one. Thou agreed with him. It would be best if he could be quietly killed. The not by you, but by someone who does not know him. I have my own private assassin. Assassin means professional killers. Suppose I send two of them to your house tonight, or better, any night. You need know nothing about it. It is now warm. What would be more natural than that you should leave the outer partition of the white man's room open to the garden while he sleeps? The journal said that the best solution was to kill the man quietly. He added that he would not be killed by Sadao, but by his hired killers. He would send two killers to Sadao's house that night or any night. Sadao did not need to know about it. As the weather was warm, those days he wanted Sadao to act naturally and keep the door of the outer partition of the men's room open. As it opened into the garden, it would give easy access to the killers while the man was asleep. Okay, certainly it would be very natural. Sadao agreed. In fact, it is so left open every night. Sadao agreed that the idea seemed natural. He added that they did leave the door of the outer partition open at night. Good, the journal said, yawning. Then they are very capable assassins. They make no noise and they know the trick of inward bleeding. If you like, I can even have them remove the body. The journal was over with the talk, and so he yawned to show disinterest. He added that was a good thing. He commented that the killers were expert. They did not make any noise and killed a person in such a way that he bled inside. There would be no traces of blood on his body. He would even ask them to remove the dead body if Sudhav wanted. Sudhav considered that perhaps would be best excellency. He agreed, thinking of Hana. Sudhav thought about Hana and said that would be very good. He left the journal's presence, then went home, thinking over the plan. In this way, the whole thing would be taken out of his hand. He would tell Hana nothing since he would be timed at the time means showing a lack of courage or confidence in the house, and yet certainly such person were essential in an absolute state such as Japan was. How else could rulers deal with those who opposed them? Thou went back home, and on the way, he kept on thinking of the plan that he had made along with the journal. He thought that in this way he would not be involved in the death of that American man. He planned that he would not tell Hannah anything about this plan. Hannah would not like the idea of the hired killers coming to their house, but such persons were essential in a place like Japan. It was the only way for the rulers to deal with their opponents. He refused to allow anything but reason to with the atmosphere of his mind as he went into the room where the American was in bed. But as he opened the door, to his surprise, he found the young man out of bed and preparing to get into the garden. So thou did not let any thought enter his mind as he went into the room where the American male lay asleep. He was surprised to see the man out of his bed. He was getting ready to go out into the garden. What is this? He exclaimed. Who gave you permission to leave your room? Sadao was shocked as he asked him that. Who had permitted him to stand and walk? I am not used to waiting for permission, Tom said gaily. Goes, I feel pretty good again, but will the muscles on this side always feel stiff? Stiff means hard. Tom was happy and said that he was not in a habit of taking permission before doing anything. He said that he felt good again, just the muscles on the side of his body was stiff and rigid. Is it so? Thou inquired, surprised. He forget all else. Now I thought I had provided against that, he murmured. He lifted the edge of the man's shirt and gazed at the healing scar. Massage may do it, he said, if exercise does not. So thou was surprised to hear that. He forgot all work and said that he had warned the man not to stand and walk. He lifted the man's shirt and inspected the scars. He said that massage could heal it if it would not be healed by exercise. Okay, thank you. This is your today's lecture. I hope you should all understand these paragraphs.